Jake Harrison stood in the control room of his ship, the horizon's edge, his hands pressed against the cold metal rail as he looked out at the stars through the big window. The lights from distant suns sparkled like tiny diamonds against the black space. 3 years had passed since the worst day of his life. 3 years since the aliens came to Colony 7 and killed everyone he loved. The Vorthek were hunters. They traveled from planet to planet looking for new types of animals to hunt and kill, but they did not hunt for food. They hunted for fun. They liked to chase things that were scared and weak. They thought humans were perfect prey because humans seemed soft and helpless compared to other species in the galaxy. Jake touched the scar on his left arm. It was long and deep, running from his wrist to his elbow. A Vorthek warrior had given him that scar with its sharp claws. The same warrior who had killed his wife Lisa and his little daughter Emma. The alien had made Jake watch as it murdered his family. Then it left him bleeding on the ground, thinking he would die like all the others, but Jake did not die. Something inside him changed that day. Something dark and angry that had been sleeping in his blood for millions of years. The doctor said it was trauma. The scientists said it was evolution. Jake knew it was something else. It was the part of him that remembered what humans really were before they became civilized. The alarms started ringing throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on every wall. Jake's crew rushed to their stations, their faces worried and scared. But Jake smiled. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 long years. Amy Rodriguez ran up to him. She was young and new to space travel. Her dark hair was tied back in a tight ponytail, and her brown eyes were wide with fear. "Commander, we have a problem. There's a ship coming toward us. It's not showing up on our normal sensors, but our deep space scanner caught something." Jake's smile got wider. His teeth looked different now. They were sharper and whiter than normal human teeth. "What kind of ship, Lieutenant?" Amy looked at her small computer screen. Her hands were shaking as she read the information. "It's big?" "Sir, really big, and it's broadcasting hunting codes." "Vorthek hunting codes?" Jake asked, but he already knew the answer. His nose could smell things that normal humans could not smell. Right now, he could smell the fear coming from his crew, but he could also smell something else. Something that made his heart beat faster. With excitement, double quotes, "Yes, sir, how did you know?" Jake turned away from the window. His crew could see him clearly now in the red light from the alarms. Some of them stepped back without knowing why. Jake looked the same as always, but something about him felt different, dangerous. "Because I've been waiting for them to come back," Jake said. His voice was calm and quiet, but it carried through the noise of the alarms. "How long until they reach us?" Amy checked her screen again. "Maybe 10 minutes, sir." "Should we try to run? Our ship is fast, but not as fast as a Vorthek hunter." Jake walked over to his command chair. It was big and black, with screens and buttons all around it. He sat down and pressed a few buttons. The ship's main computer came to life, showing him everything about the area around them. Stars, planets, space dust, and one very large alien. Ship moving toward them like a shark swimming toward a school of fish. "No," Jake said, "we're not running." "Send a message to the alien ship. Tell them we surrender." His crew looked at him like he had lost his mind. Roy Bennett, his second in command, walked over to him. Roy was an old soldier who had fought in 3 wars. He had gray hair and scars on his face from battles long ago. "Commander, with respect, that's not a good idea. The Vorthak don't take prisoners. They just kill everything they catch." Jake looked at Roy with eyes that seemed to glow in the red light. "I know exactly what they do, Captain Bennett. I watched them do it to 200 people on Colony 7. I watched them do it to my wife and daughter." The room became very quiet. Everyone knew about Colony 7. Everyone knew that Jake was the only person who survived the attack. But nobody talked about it. It was too horrible to think about. "And why are we surrendering?" Roy asked. "Why aren't we fighting or running?" Jake stood up from his chair. He was not a very tall man, but somehow he seemed to fill the whole room. "Because they need to come close to us. They need to think we're helpless and scared. They need to think we're easy prey." Dr. Helen Murphy was standing near the back of the room. She was the ship's doctor and scientist. She had been studying Jake for 2 years, ever since he started changing. Her tests showed things that should not be possible in a human body. Jake's bones were stronger than steel. His muscles could lift twice as much as a normal person. His eyes could see in the dark like a cat. His nose could smell things from miles away. "Commander," she said quietly, "your bio readings are off the charts. Your heart rate, your brain activity, your hormone levels. What are you planning to do?" Jake looked at her and smiled again. This time, his smile showed all of his sharp teeth. "I'm going to show them what humans really are, Doctor. I'm going to show them why they should have left us alone." The ship shook as the alien vessel got closer. Through the window they could see it now. It was huge and black, shaped like a giant predator with wings and claws. Strange lights pulsed along its sides like a heartbeat. The Vorthak built their ships to look scary. They wanted their prey to be afraid before they even started hunting. Jake pressed a button on his chair. His voice went out through the ship's speakers so everyone could hear him. "Attention, crew of the Horizon's Edge. In a few minutes we're going to have visitors. They're going to think they're hunting us. But they're wrong. Today, the hunt goes the other way." Amy looked at her screen again. "Commander, they're trying to communicate with us. They want to talk." "Put them through," Jake said. "Let's hear what they have to say." The main screen in the control room flickered to life. A horrible face appeared on it. The alien had 4 eyes, sharp teeth, and skin that looked like it was made of metal. Strange patterns of light moved across its face like angry thoughts. This was Krexnull, the warrior who had destroyed Colony 7, the monster who had killed Jake's family. "Little humans," the alien said in broken English. "You remember me, yes? I am Krexnull of the Vorthak Prime House. I have come back to finish what I started on your weak little world." Jake stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. "I remember you, Krexnull. I remember everything you did. Every person you killed. Every family you destroyed." The alien's eyes grew wide. You are the one who lived. The one who hid like a coward while I killed your mate and offspring. You should have died with them. Yes, Jake said. "I should have died with them, but I didn't. And do you know why?" Krexnull laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass. "Because you are weak. Because you ran away like all humans do when they face a real predator." Jake's smile disappeared. His face became cold and hard like stone. "No, I lived because something inside me woke up that day. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. Something that your species has never seen before." The alien stopped laughing. Something in Jake's voice made it feel uncomfortable. "What do you mean, human?" "I mean," Jake said, "that you're about to learn why Earth is called a death world. And why humans are the scariest thing that ever crawled out of one." The transmission ended. The alien ship moved closer to the horizon's edge. In a few minutes, Krexnull would teleport aboard their ship, expecting to find frightened prey waiting for him. Instead, he would find something that nightmares were made of. He would find a human who had remembered what his species really was underneath all the civilization and kindness. Jake Harrison was no longer just a man seeking revenge. He had become something new. Something that would make the Vorthak wish they had never heard of. Humanity. The air in the control room began to shimmer and glow. Everyone could feel a strange buzzing in their ears as the alien technology started to work. Jake's crew backed away from the center of the room, their faces pale with fear. They had heard stories about Vorthak teleportation, but none of them had ever seen it happen before. A bright flash of blue light filled the room. When it faded, Krexnull stood in the middle of the control room. The alien was enormous, almost 8 feet tall. His body was covered in dark scales that looked like armor. 4 powerful arms ended in hands with razor-sharp claws. His head was long and narrow, with 4 red eyes that could see heat like a snake. Strange patterns of light moved under his skin, pulsing faster when he got excited. The alien looked around the room at all the humans. His mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of teeth like broken glass. "So many little prey animals," he said, his voice like rocks grinding together. This will be fun. Amy Rodriguez tried to hide behind her computer station. Her whole body was shaking and she could barely breathe. Roy Bennett put his hand on his weapon, but he knew it would not help against the Vorthic warrior, Dr. Murphy. Pressed herself against the wall, her medical scanner beeping wildly as it tried to read the alien's strange biology. Jake had not moved from his position, near the big window. His back was still turned to the alien, as if he did not care that death had just appeared in his control room. His hands rested calmly on the metal rail, and his breathing was slow and steady. "You," Crexnell said, pointing one of his clawed hands at Jake. "Turn around, coward. I want to see your face when you die." Jake did not move. "I'm looking at something more interesting than you right now." The alien's light patterns flashed bright red. In Vorthic culture, no prey animal had ever spoken to a hunter like that. What could be more interesting than your own death? "I'm looking at the stars," Jake said quietly. "Did you know that humans used to navigate by the stars? Before we had computers and spaceships, we used to look up at the night sky and find our way home. The stars were like a map written in light." Crexnell moved closer, his heavy footsteps making the metal floor shake. "I do not care about your primitive history. Turn around and face me." Jake finally turned around, but very slowly. As he moved, the lights in the room seemed to dim. The shadows grew longer and darker. When Jake's face came into view, several of his crew members gasped. His eyes were different. They glowed with a soft blue light that had not been there before. His skin looked harder, like it had metal under it. When he smiled, his teeth were sharp and white like a shark's. But the most frightening thing was his expression. He looked at Crexnell the way a cat looks at a mouse. "There we go," Jake said. "Now I can see you properly." Crexnell felt something he had never felt before. A small, cold feeling in his stomach that made him want to step backward. His thermal vision showed him Jake's body heat, but the readings were wrong. Instead of the normal warm glow of a human, Jake's body showed hot and cold spots that made no sense. "What are you?" the alien asked, his voice not as steady as before. "I'm exactly what you made me," Jake replied. 3 years ago you came too. Colony 7, you killed everyone there, including my wife Lisa and my daughter Emma. You left me bleeding in the dirt, thinking I would die." The alien's light patterns shifted to orange, I remember. "You begged me to spare them. You cried like a baby when I killed them. You were pathetic." Jake nodded slowly. "Yes, I was. I was weak and scared and helpless. Just like you wanted me to be, but you made a mistake, Crexnell." "What mistake?" the alien demanded. "You let me live," Jake said. "And humans are very good at learning from their mistakes." Dr. Murphy watched her scanner with growing horror. Jake's biological readings were impossible. His heart rate was completely steady, even though he was facing a creature that could kill him in seconds. His brain activity showed patterns she had never seen before. His muscle tension was perfect, like a spring ready to release. "You think you have changed?" Crexnell laughed. "You are still the same weak little human. You still smell like fear and sweat. You still—" He stopped talking. Something was wrong with his sense of smell. Humans always smelled like prey, sweet and helpless and afraid, but Jake smelled different. He smelled like something dangerous, something that other creatures should avoid. "I do smell different, don't I?" Jake said, as if he could read the alien's thoughts. "That's because I'm not the same person you left dying on Colony 7. That person was weak and civilized and kind. He believed that everyone could be reasoned with. He thought that violence was always wrong." Jake took a step forward. It was just one small step, but somehow it made the huge alien take a step backward. "But you taught me something important," Jake continued. "You taught me that sometimes violence is the only language that predators understand. You taught me that mercy is a luxury that only the strong can afford. And most importantly, you taught me what happens when you push a human too far." Crexnell's forearms tensed. Blades of glowing energy appeared from devices on his wrists. Each blade was 3 feet long and hot enough to cut through steel. "Enough talk. Time to die, little human." The alien lunged forward with incredible speed. His energy blade swept through the air where Jake had been standing, but Jake was no longer there. He had moved faster than the alien's eyes could follow. Faster than should be possible for any human. Jake reappeared behind Krexnull, close enough to touch. "You're slower than I expected," he said softly. The alien spun around, his blades cutting through the air. Again, Jake was gone. This time he appeared near the wall, standing perfectly still as if he had been there all along. "How?" Krexnull demanded. "Humans cannot move that fast. Your reflexes are too slow. Your muscles are too weak." "You're right," Jake admitted. "Normal humans can't move that fast. But I'm not normal anymore. The changes started the day you killed my family. At first I thought it was just trauma. Bad dreams, strange thoughts, feeling angry all the time. But then my body started changing too." Jake held up his right hand. His fingernails had grown longer and sharper. When he flexed his fingers, claws slid out from under his nails like a cat's. My bones got stronger. My muscles got bigger. My senses got sharper. The doctor said it was impossible, but it kept happening anyway. The alien's thermal vision showed him something that made his blood run cold. Jake's body temperature was rising. The heat was not coming from fear or excitement. It was coming from something else. Something that turned humans into perfect killing. "Machines. You see," Jake said, "humans have been predators for millions of years. We hunted mammoths with sharpened sticks. We turned wolves into pets. We climbed to the top of the food chain on a planet that was trying to kill us every single day. But then we got civilized. We forgot what we really were." Jake's eyes glowed brighter. "You reminded me?" Krexnull tried to attack again, but this time Jake did not dodge. Instead, he caught the alien's wrist in his bare hand. The energy blade stopped just inches from his face, but Jake did not look afraid. He looked curious. "Interesting," Jake said, studying the weapon. "Hot enough to melt steel, but not hot enough to hurt me. I wonder why that is." The alien tried to pull away, but Jake's grip was like iron. Krexnull was strong enough to lift a car, but he could not break free from the human's grasp. "Let me go," the alien growled. "In a minute," Jake said. "First, I want to show you something. Something that I learned about humans while I was changing." Jake's grip tightened. The alien's wrist armor began to crack under the pressure. "We're not just predators, Krexnull. We're persistence hunters. Do you know what that means?" The alien's light patterns were flashing white with pain. "No. It means we don't give up, ever. When we hunt something, we follow it until it gets tired. We follow it until it makes a mistake. We follow it until it dies from exhaustion. We're not the fastest or the strongest, but we're the most stubborn." Jake released the alien's wrist and stepped back. Krexnull staggered, looking at his cracked armor in disbelief. "You came here thinking you were hunting me," Jake said. "But you were wrong. I've been hunting you for 3 years. I've been waiting for you to come back. I've been preparing for this moment." The alien looked around the control room. Jake's crew was watching with wide eyes, but they were no longer afraid. They were excited. They could sense that their commander was winning. "This is impossible," Krexnull said. "You are just one human. I am a warrior of the Vorthic Prime House. I have killed thousands of prey animals across the galaxy." Jake smiled. His sharp-toothed smile. "That's your problem right there. You think I'm prey, but I'm not prey, Krexnull. I'm something much worse. What are you then?" Jake's eyes blazed with blue fire. "I'm a human who has nothing left to lose. And that makes me the most dangerous thing in the universe." Krexnull backed away from Jake, his 4 eyes darting around the control room looking for an escape route. The alien's light patterns were flashing yellow now, which meant confusion and fear. In all his years of hunting, he had never met prey that fought back like this. "You cannot be stronger than me," the alien said, his voice shaking slightly. "I am Vorthic. We are the apex predators of the galaxy. We have hunted for 10,000 years. Jake tilted his head to one side like a dog, hearing a strange sound. 10,000 years? That's impressive. But humans have been hunting for 2 million years. We just got better at hiding it." The lights in the control room suddenly went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in a red glow. Jake's crew knew this was not an accident. Their commander was controlling the ship's systems somehow. "Computer," Jake said calmly, "seal all exits from the control room." Heavy metal doors slammed shut at every entrance. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. Krexnull spun around, realizing he was trapped. "What are you doing?" the alien demanded. "Creating the perfect hunting ground," Jake replied. "You see, Krexnull, you made another mistake. You came onto my ship, my territory, and now you're going to learn what it feels like to be hunted." Dr. Murphy pressed herself against the wall, her medical scanner beeping frantically. Jake's vital signs were doing things that should not be possible. His heart rate was perfectly steady, but his body temperature was rising. His brain activity showed patterns that looked almost like animal instincts taking over. "Amy," Jake said without looking at his communications officer, "activate the ship's internal defense systems. Route everything through my personal controls." Amy's fingers flew over her computer keyboard. "Yes, sir. All systems are now under your command." The ship around them began to change. Walls slid apart to reveal hidden passages. The floor opened up in places, showing maintenance tunnels below. The ceiling lowered in some areas and raised in others, creating a maze of different levels and hiding spots. Krexnull watched this transformation with growing horror. "What is this? What are you doing to your ship?" "I'm making it into something you'll understand," Jake said. "A hunting ground. Just like the forests where your people used to hunt before you got spaceships. Lots of places to hide. Lots of ways to move without being seen. Lots of opportunities for surprises." The alien raised his energy blades and charged at Jake again. But this time Jake did not just dodge. He seemed to melt into the shadows, becoming one with the darkness. Krexnull's thermal vision should have been able to track him, but somehow Jake's heat signature was scattered all over the room. "Where are you?" The alien roared, spinning in circles. Jake's voice came from everywhere at once. "I'm right here. I'm behind you. I'm above you. I'm watching you from every shadow." Roy Bennett stared in amazement, as his commander seemed to be. In multiple places at the same time. The old soldier had seen a lot of strange things in his years of service, but nothing like this. How is he doing that? Roy whispered to Dr. Murphy. The doctor checked her scanner again. "I don't know. His bio readings are scattered all over the ship. It's like he's become part of the ship itself." Jake's voice echoed through the control room again, but this time it sounded different, deeper, more dangerous. "You know what the best part about being a persistence hunter is, Krexnull?" The alien swung his blades at empty air, trying to hit something that was not there. "Stop playing games and face me like a warrior." "The best part," Jake continued, "is that we don't have to be faster or stronger than our prey. We just have to be smarter. We just have to be patient. We just have to wait for the right moment." Suddenly, the ship's gravity changed. Krexnull found himself floating in the air, his heavy body spinning helplessly. He tried to use his energy blades to grab onto something, but Jake had thought of that too. All the surfaces in the room were now covered with a special coating that his blades could not cut. "Gravity is a funny thing," Jake said, his voice sounding amused. "Humans evolved on a world with strong gravity. We're used to it. We know how to move in it. But you, Vorthak, come from a world with weak gravity. You need artificial gravity to function properly." The alien twisted in the air, trying to orient himself. "This is cheating. This is not how a proper hunt works." Jake's laughter filled the room. "Cheating? You killed my wife and daughter with weapons that could cut through steel. You used technology to teleport onto my ship. You hunted unarmed colonists with advanced alien weapons. And now you're complaining about cheating?" The gravity returned to normal, and Krexnull crashed to the floor. Before he could get up, the temperature in the room began to change. One corner became burning hot, while another became freezing cold. The air itself began to move in strange patterns, creating wind that pushed the alien off balance. "You're using your ship's systems against me," Krexnull said, struggling to his feet. "That is not honorable combat. Honor?" Jake's voice was ice cold now. "You want to talk about honor? Where was your honor when you killed children on Colony 7? Where was your honor when you made me watch my family die? The alien's light patterns flashed red with anger. They were prey. Prey does not deserve honor. And that, Jake said, is why you're going to lose? You still think I'm prey? But prey doesn't set traps. Prey doesn't control the environment. Prey doesn't turn the hunter into the hunted. Lisa Carter, the ship's engineer, watched her control panels with fascination. Jake was using the ship's systems in ways she had never imagined. He was turning the Horizon's Edge into a living weapon, using every circuit and wire to create the perfect hunting environment. "Commander," she whispered into her communicator, "how are you doing this? How are you controlling so many systems at once?" Jake's voice came back through her earpiece, but it sounded strange, almost like he was speaking from inside her head. "The ship is part of me now, Lisa, just like my arms and legs. I can feel every circuit, every sensor, every system. They're all extensions of my will." Krexnall was getting desperate. He had never been in a situation where he was the one being hunted. His species had always been the predators, never the prey. He did not know how to handle fear and confusion. "Show yourself, coward!" the alien screamed. "Fight me face to face!" "Why would I do that?" Jake asked, his voice coming from a ventilation grate above the alien's head. "That would be stupid. A good hunter uses every advantage he can find." The alien looked up and shot energy blasts at the grate, but Jake was already gone. The voice now came from a speaker near the floor. "You see, Krexnall, you never understood humans. You thought we were weak because we don't have claws or fangs or natural armor. But our strength was never in our bodies. Our strength is in our minds." The room's lighting began to strobe, creating a disorienting effect that made it hard for the alien to focus. "We learned to make tools because we were not born with them. We learned to work together because we were not strong enough alone. We learned to think and plan and scheme because we could not rely on brute force." Krexnall stumbled around the room, his senses overwhelmed by the changing environment. "Stop this. Face me in honest combat." "Honest combat?" Jake laughed. "There is no such thing as honest combat. There is only survival, and I am very good at surviving." The alien's breathing was becoming labored. The stress of being hunted was wearing him down. His light patterns were flickering weakly, and his movements were becoming slower and clumsier. "You're getting tired," Jake observed. "That's another thing about persistence hunting. We don't need to catch our prey right away. We just need to keep pressure on them until they collapse from exhaustion." Dr. Murphy checked her scanner one more time. The readings were incredible. Jake's biology was adapting in real time, changing to match the demands of the hunt. His nervous system was processing information faster than any human brain should be able to handle. "This is impossible," she whispered to herself. "He's not human anymore. He's something else entirely." Jake's voice came from right behind her, even though she could not see him. "I'm exactly what humans were always meant to." Doctor, we just forgot for a while." Krexnall fell to his knees in the center of the room, his forearms shaking with fatigue. "Please," he gasped. "I yield." "I surrender. Let me go back to my ship." "Surrender?" Jake's voice was everywhere and nowhere. "That's interesting." "I don't. Remember you accepting my surrender on Colony 7? I don't remember you showing mercy to my family when they begged for their lives." The alien's light patterns went completely white, which meant total submission. "I was wrong. I see that now. Humans are not prey. Please, let me live." Jake finally stepped out of the shadows, appearing directly in front of the kneeling alien. His eyes were blazing with blue fire, and his sharp teeth gleamed in the red light. "Oh, I'm going to let you live," Jake said, his voice soft and terrifying. "But first, you're going to learn exactly what kind of predator you woke up when you killed my family. The hunt was just beginning." Jake stood over the kneeling alien, his glowing eyes studying Krexnall like a scientist examining an interesting specimen. The control room had become quiet except for the alien's heavy breathing and the soft hum of the ship's systems. "Get up," Jake said calmly. "We're going for a walk." Krexnall looked up at him with confusion. "A walk? Through my ship? I want to show you something." I want you to understand what you're really dealing with. Jake gestured toward one of the doors, which slid open with a soft hiss. Move! The alien struggled to his feet, his legs shaking from exhaustion and fear. His light patterns were dim and flickering weakly. He had never felt so helpless in his entire life. Roy Bennett stepped forward. Commander, should we come with you? Jake shook his head without taking his eyes off the alien. No, stay here and monitor the ship? This is between me and him. Dr. Murphy watched her scanner as Jake walked past her. The readings were still impossible. His body temperature was higher than any human could survive, but he showed no signs of discomfort. His brain activity looked like a complex computer running multiple programs at once. Jake, she whispered, your biological readings are off the charts. What's happening to you? He paused and looked at her with those strange glowing eyes. I'm becoming what I was always meant to be, Helen, what my species was always meant to be. Jake and Crexnell walked through the corridors of the Horizons Edge. The alien noticed that the ship seemed different now. The walls pulsed with a faint light, like a heartbeat. The air moved in strange patterns, carrying scents that made his hunting instincts scream warnings. Tell me about your homeworld, Jake said as they walked. His voice echoed strangely in the metal corridors. Why? Crexnell asked. Because I want to understand you. I want to know how a species becomes so focused on hunting that they lose everything. Else, the alien's pride made him stand a little straighter. Vorthek Prime is a perfect world. Strong gravity, dangerous predators, harsh weather. Only the strongest survive to adulthood. We became the ultimate hunters because we had to. Jake nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. Survival of the fittest. Only the best hunters get to pass on their genes. They stopped at a large window that looked out into space. But you know what's interesting? Earth was worse. Impossible, Crexnell said. No world is more dangerous than Vorthek Prime. Jake pressed his hand against the window. Earth had ice ages that lasted for thousands of years. Volcanoes that could block out the sun. Asteroids that killed most of the life on the planet. Diseases that wiped out entire species. Natural disasters that happened without warning. The alien looked out at the stars. Then how did your species survive? By being smarter than the planet that was trying to kill us, Jake replied. We learned to work together. We learned to make tools. We learned to adapt to anything the universe could throw at us. They continued walking through the ship. Crexnell noticed that Jake moved differently now. His steps were perfectly silent, even on the metal floors. His head turned slightly at sounds that the alien could not hear. He moved like a predator who was completely at home in his territory. But here's the thing about humans, Jake continued. We didn't just adapt to survive, we adapted to thrive. We turned every disadvantage into an advantage. We took species that were stronger than us and made them our allies. We took fire, which could kill us, and made it our tool. They entered the ship's medical bay. Dr. Murphy had equipment here that could examine any species in the galaxy. Jake walked over to one of the scanning devices and activated it. Lie down, he told the alien. Why? Because I want to show you something about yourself. Something you've never seen before. Crexnell reluctantly lay down on the scanning table. The machine hummed to life, projecting a three-dimensional image of his body in the air above him. His skeleton, muscles, organs, and nervous system were all visible in different colors. Look at yourself, Jake said, pointing at the image. You're perfectly designed for hunting. Strong bones, powerful muscles, sharp claws, excellent senses. You're a living weapon, the alien felt a surge of pride. Yes, we are the perfect predators. But that's also your weakness, Jake said. You're so specialized for hunting that you can't do anything else. Your entire culture, your entire way of thinking revolves around finding prey and killing it. Jake touched a control panel and the image changed to show a human body next to the aliens. Now look at humans. We're not specialized for anything. We're not the strongest or the fastest or the most dangerous. We're generalists. Crexnell studied the human image. Compared to his own body, the human looked weak and fragile. You prove. My point, you are inferior in every way? Am I? Jake asked. He touched another control, and the human image began to change. It showed the modifications that had been made to Jake's body over the past 3 years. Watch carefully. The image showed Jake's bones becoming denser and stronger, his muscles growing more efficient, his nervous system developing new pathways, his brain creating new connections. This is what happened to me after you killed my family, Jake explained. My body started changing itself. My genes started activating sequences that had been sleeping for millions of years. The alien stared at the image in disbelief. That is impossible. Species cannot change that quickly. Most species can't, Jake agreed. But humans are different. We carry the genetic memory of every challenge our species has ever faced. Ice ages, plagues, predators, natural disasters. All of that survival knowledge is written in our DNA, waiting to be activated when we need it. Jake walked around the scanning table, his eyes never leaving the alien. You see, Krexnull, when you killed my family, you didn't just hurt me. You triggered something that had been sleeping in my genes for 2 million years. You woke up the part of me that remembers how to survive when everything else fails. The medical scanner beeped, and new information appeared on the screen. It showed Jake's current biological state compared to a normal human. The differences were staggering. My bones are now 3 times stronger than steel, Jake said, reading from the display. My muscles can generate force equivalent to a small vehicle. My reflexes are faster than any biological creature should be capable of. My senses can detect things that most species need technology to find. Krexnull's light patterns were flashing. White with fear. You are not human anymore. Wrong, Jake said firmly. I am exactly what humans become when they stop pretending to be civilized. I am what my species looks like when we embrace our true nature. They left the medical bay and continued through the ship. Jake led the alien to the engineering section, where Lisa Carter was working at her computer stations. Lisa, Jake called out, show our guest what you've been working on. The young engineer looked up nervously. Are you sure, Commander? Show him. Lisa pressed some buttons on her computer, and the main screen lit up with a star map. It showed hundreds of solar systems, with different colors marking different types of worlds. This is a map of known Vorthok hunting grounds, Lisa explained. We've been tracking your species' movements for the past year. Krexnull stared at the map in shock. How did you get this information? This is classified military data. Jake smiled his sharp-toothed smile. We're very good at getting information we need. It's another human talent. We learn everything we can about our enemies before we face them. The map zoomed in on specific star systems. We know where your breeding worlds are. We know where your military bases are. We know where your leaders live. The alien's breathing became rapid and shallow. What are you planning to do with this information? That depends on you, Jake said. You see, Krexnull, you came here thinking you were finishing a hunt. But really, you were just the first step in a much larger plan. They walked to the ship's communication center. Jake activated the long-range transmitters and signals began broadcasting out into space in all directions. What are you doing? The alien demanded. Sending a message, Jake replied. To every human colony, every human ship, every human military base in the galaxy. I'm telling them what happened on Colony 7. I'm telling them about the Vorthek. I'm telling them that it's time to stop being prey. Krexnull watched the communication signals spreading across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. You are declaring war on my entire species. No, Jake said quietly. I'm just letting my species know that the hunting season is open. And this time, we're the ones doing the hunting. The alien fell to his knees again, overwhelmed by the implications of what he was seeing. Please, we can negotiate, we can make peace. Jake knelt down beside him, bringing his glowing eyes level with the alien's 4 eyes. Peace? You had 3 years to make peace. You could have left us alone after Colony 7. You could have decided that humans weren't worth hunting anymore. We thought you were weak, Krexnull whispered. That was your mistake, Jake said. You thought weakness was the absence of strength. But human weakness is just strength waiting for the right moment to show itself. Jake stood up and walked back toward the control room. Come on, it's time for the final lesson. As they walked back through the ship, Krexnull realized that everything had changed. The ship around him no longer felt like a human vessel. It felt like the inside of a predator's den. And he was no longer the hunter, he was the prey that had walked willingly into the trap. Jake and Krexnull returned to the ship's main cargo bay. It was the largest room on the horizon's edge, big enough to hold supplies for long space journeys. But now it looked different. The lights were dim, creating long shadows in every corner. The air felt thick and heavy, like the atmosphere before a thunderstorm. Sit down, Jake told the alien, pointing to the center of the empty floor. Krexnull looked around the vast space with growing fear. He was completely exposed here, with nowhere to hide and nowhere to run. His light patterns were barely glowing now, showing how exhausted and defeated he felt. What happens now? The alien asked as he sat down heavily on the cold metal floor. Jake walked around him in a slow circle, like a shark swimming around wounded prey. Now you learn the final lesson about humans. The lesson that will save your species if you're smart enough to listen. Dr. Murphy watched from the observation deck above the cargo bay. Her medical scanner was still tracking Jake's vital signs, and what she saw terrified her. His transformation was accelerating. His body was changing in real time, adapting to become the perfect predator for this specific situation. Commander, she whispered into her communicator, your cellular activity is off the charts. Whatever is happening to you, it's speeding up. Jake's voice came back through her earpiece, but it sounded different now. Deeper and more resonant, as if it was coming from something much larger than a human throat. I know, Helen, it's almost finished. Roy Bennett stood next to Dr. Murphy on the observation deck. The old soldier had seen many battles, but he had never seen anything like this. What has he become? He asked quietly. I don't know, the doctor replied, staring at her impossible readings. Something that was always inside him, waiting to come out. Down in the cargo bay, Jake stopped circling and stood directly in front of Krexnull. The alien had to look up to meet his eyes, which were now burning brighter than ever. You asked me what I am? Jake said. But you've been asking the wrong question. The real question is what humans are when you strip away all the civilization and politeness and rules. Krexnull's 4 eyes fixed on Jake's face. What are you? We are the species that survived the worst planet in the galaxy. Jake began, his voice carrying through the large room like thunder. We are the species that looked at creatures 10 times our size and decided to hunt them anyway. We are the species that turned our enemies into our allies and our weaknesses into our strengths. Jake knelt down so he was face to face with the alien. But most importantly, we are the species that never, ever forgets. The alien shuddered. What do you mean? I mean that every human who dies sends their memories into our genetic code. Every lesson learned, every adaptation made, every survival trick discovered. It all gets passed down to the next generation. Jake's eyes blazed brighter. And when you killed the people on Colony 7, you added their memories to mine? Krexnull's breathing became rapid and shallow. That is impossible. Is it? Jake asked. Look at me, Krexnull, really look at me. Do I look impossible to you? The alien studied Jake's transformed features. His skin had a metallic sheen that reflected the dim lights. His muscles moved under his skin like cables made of steel. His teeth had grown longer and sharper. His fingernails had become claws that could cut through metal. You are a monster, Krexnull whispered. Jake laughed, and the sound echoed through the cargo bay like the roar of an ancient predator. No, I am what monsters have nightmares about. I am what happens when you hurt something that loves peace more than war, but is better at war than anything else in the universe. Amy Rodriguez watched from her station in the control room. The communication systems were still broadcasting Jake's message to human colonies across the galaxy. Responses were already coming back. Military bases were mobilizing. Colony defense forces were arming themselves. Exploration ships were turning back toward human space. Commander, she called over the intercom, we're getting responses from all over human space. They want to know what they should do? Jake's voice boomed through the ship's speakers. Tell them to prepare. Tell them the hunting season is about to begin. And tell them that this time we're not the prey. Lisa Carter looked up from her engineering station. Sir, I'm detecting movement in the alien ship. It looks like they're preparing to leave. Let them, Jake said. Crexnell needs to get home safely. He has a very important message to deliver. The alien looked confused. You are letting me go? Of course, Jake replied, standing up to his full height. You're my messenger. You're going to tell your people exactly what you learned here today. Crexnell struggled to his feet, his legs still shaking. What message? Jake walked over to one of the cargo bay's large windows. Outside, they could see the Vorthek hunting ship waiting in space. It looked smaller and less threatening than it had before. You're going to tell them that humans are not prey, Jake said, his voice carrying absolute authority. You're going to tell them that we never were prey. We were just being polite. The aliens' light patterns flickered weakly. They will not believe me. They will when they see what I've become, Jake said, and when they realize that I'm not unique. Every human has this potential inside them. Every human can become what I am, given the right motivation. Jake turned back to face Crexnell. You see, the mistake your species made was thinking that because we choose to be peaceful, we must be weak. But peace is not weakness. Peace is a choice that only the strong can make. Dr. Murphy's scanner beeped urgently. Commander, your transformation is reaching some kind of critical point. Your cellular structure is stabilizing into something completely new. Jake nodded calmly. Good, it's time. He walked back to Crexnell, who was backing toward the cargo bay's exit. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to return to Vorthek Prime. You're going to tell your leaders everything you've seen here. You're going to explain that humans are no longer targets for hunting. And if they do not listen? The alien asked. Jake's smile was terrifying in its coldness. Then they'll learn the hard way. You see, Crexnell, I'm not the only human who lost family to your species. There are thousands of us scattered across the galaxy. And now they all know what I know. They all understand what they can become. The cargo bay doors opened, revealing the docking tube that connected to the alien ship. Crexnell moved toward it like a man walking toward his own execution. Wait, Jake called out. The alien stopped and turned around. I want you to remember something, Jake said. 3 years ago, you had a choice. You could have left my family alive. You could have shown mercy. You chose not to. Jake's eyes blazed with blue fire. Today I have the same choice. I could kill you right here, right now. I could hunt down every member of your species and make them pay for what you did to my family. Crexnell waited, not daring to breathe, but I'm not going to do that, Jake continued. Do you know why? Why? The alien whispered. Because I'm still human, and humans believe in giving people chances to change. This is your chance, Crexnell. This is your species' chance. Don't waste it. The alien stumbled through the docking tube toward his ship. Behind him, Jake stood in the cargo bay doorway, his transformed figure silhouetted against the lights of the horizon's edge. Remember, Jake called after him, mercy is a gift that only the strong can give. Today, you receive that gift from someone whose family you murdered. Think about what that means. The docking tube disconnected, and the Vorthak ship began to move away. Through the cargo bay windows, Jake's crew watched it disappear into hyperspace. Roy Bennett walked down from the observation deck. Commander, do you think he'll deliver the message? Jake turned toward his crew, and they saw that his transformation was complete. He still looked human, but there was something else there now. Something ancient and powerful and utterly terrifying to anyone who might threaten the people he cared about. He'll deliver it, Jake said with certainty. And if the Vorthek are smart, they'll listen. Because if they don't, they're going to discover that humans have been holding back for a very long time. Dr. Murphy approached him cautiously. Jake, what are you now? What have you become? He looked at her with eyes that held the wisdom of 2 million years of human survival. I'm what I was always meant to be, Helen. I'm what my species becomes when someone threatens the people we love. Jake walked toward the cargo bay exit, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. I'm humanity's reminder that we chose to be civilized. But civilization is a choice, not a weakness. And some choices can be unmade. As he left the cargo bay, his crew followed him. They were no longer afraid of what he had become. They were proud. Because they finally understood that Jake Harrison was not a monster. He was a guardian, a protector. A living promise that humanity would never again be anyone's prey, and somewhere in the depths of space, racing toward Vorthek Prime with a message that would change the galaxy, Krexnull finally understood what he had awakened when he killed Jake's family. He had awakened something that nightmares were afraid of. He had awakened a human who remembered what his species really was.